Whatever you do, don't look at the well in the village square when the clock hits 3:03 a.m., it's not water that looks back. It was supposed to be a simple heritage research trip. My university sent me to document vanishing rural rituals in the South, mostly harmless things like seasonal dances or old harvest chants. That's how I ended up in Kalipur, a village so remote the signal bars died a full hour before I even arrived. The place was oddly untouched by modernity. No Wi-Fi, barely any power lines, and everything felt preserved. Like time refused to move forward here. The villagers were kind but strange, too kind. Almost as if they were terrified of letting me get upset. They insisted I stay in the small guest hut outside the village square, right across from the old stone well. The first day was uneventful, but something about the well unnerved me. Not because of how it looked, though that was creepy enough, with its rusted pulley and moss-covered bricks, but because no one ever went near it. Kids played around it but gave it a 10-foot radius like it emitted heat. No one spoke of it directly. Even when I asked, they'd laugh it off or pretend not to hear me. That night, as I lay on the thin mattress with the windows open, I heard it, a splash, followed by a faint whisper. I thought it was my imagination until the second night, when I heard a low, childlike giggle. My window faced the well. I should have looked away, I didn't. Just as the village clock tower struck 3:03 a.m., I sat up. The giggling stopped. Then came the sound of something climbing. Not a person. No, it was too fast, too wet, too irregular. The pulleys creaked, and from the darkness of the well rose a head, long and smooth like it had no skin, the glint of wet muscle under moonlight. It didn't have a face, just folds where a mouth should be. But it saw me. It looked straight at me without eyes. I fell backward in terror. The lights in my hut flickered and went out. I locked the doors and covered the windows, but by morning, there were wet handprints smeared across the outside wall. I packed to leave, but the village head stopped me. He was pale, shaking. "You looked at the well. You saw it." I demanded to know what the hell was going on. He wouldn't answer. Just handed me a note, crumpled and yellowed like it had passed too many hands. Rules for surviving the well of Kalipur. 1. Never speak of the well after dark. 2. If you hear laughter or splashing after midnight, ignore it. It wants your attention. 3. When the clock hits 3:03 a.m., shut all windows. Never look. 4. If you see it, it sees you. It will visit every night until it learns your shape. 5. You will start to hear it speak with your voice. Don't answer. 6. If water starts leaking from your walls, it's too late. Leave everything. Run. That night, I couldn't sleep. I had already broken Rule 3. And Rule 4 confirmed my worst fear. I left before dawn, walking for hours until I found a weak signal and called for help. I didn't tell them everything. Who would believe me? But now, back home in my apartment, the clock on my wall has started ticking louder at night. I live on the 3rd floor, and there's no plumbing above me. And yet, water trickles from my ceiling at exactly 3:03 a.m. I think it's trying to find its way out of the well, through me. I think it's starting to wear my voice. Last night I woke up and heard myself whispering from the kitchen. But I was still in bed. I tried burning the note. It didn't burn. It soaked through my lighter like it was made of wet sponge. It smelled like the well. If you ever go to Kalipur, stay away from the square. Don't look at the well. Don't listen to the water. And if you hear your own voice calling from somewhere behind you, never turn around. I didn't turn around. I don't know how, but something inside me, something primal and ancient, screamed at me to obey. My breath rattled in my chest as the whispering grew louder, closer, slithering across my neck like icy breath. I felt the weight of unseen eyes pressing down on me, pulling at the back of my skull, urging me to glance over my shoulder. Every instinct rebelled, but I clutched the photo tighter and kept walking. The trail beneath my feet no longer crunched with gravel, it felt soft, almost sponge-like, like damp moss or meat. But I refused to look. The trees whispered my name now. Not the wind, not echoes, voices. High-pitched, sickly sweet, like a child trying to mimic affection but failing to conceal the malice underneath. "Come back," they chirped. "You forgot your smile." Something brushed against my elbow, but when I flinched to the side, nothing was there. Just empty air. I couldn't see the stars anymore, only an oppressive blanket of blackness above the treetops, like the sky itself had closed its eyes. I walked for what felt like hours. Or seconds. Time didn't seem to work right here. My watch spun erratically, ticking backward, then stopping completely. My flashlight began to flicker, casting dancing shadows that didn't match my movements. One of them stood still as I walked. Frozen. Then it waved at me. That's when I smelled it. Not rot, birth. Wet, raw, new flesh. Like something had just been born behind me, slick and screaming, pulling itself into our world through torn reality. The trees shuddered as something heavy and wet slithered between them. Branches cracked. Something whispered, "Closer now," a voice that sounded like my father's, only he's been dead for 10 years. Turn around. It's me, son. I wanted to scream, but my voice stayed locked in my throat. My feet kept moving forward, even though the trail had disappeared, swallowed by gnarled roots that curled like fingers across the forest floor. Then I saw it, a clearing. A cabin I hadn't noticed before, small and hunched, like it was trying to hide among the trees. A dim orange glow flickered inside. A radio played from within, an old folk tune warped by static. I stepped inside. And everything stopped. The moment I crossed the threshold, the whispers vanished. The air warmed. The cabin was furnished, neatly, like someone lived there. A steaming bowl of soup sat on the table, next to a chair facing a mirror. In that mirror, I was already sitting. Smiling. Waving at me. I backed away. But the door slammed shut behind me. The mirror version of me stood up. Its eyes were wrong, black and glistening, like a beetle's shell. It cocked its head and mouthed something I couldn't hear. Then it pointed behind me. I knew what it meant. I'd made it this far. I'd obeyed every rule. I wouldn't, look. But it took a step closer. And then I heard the children's voices again. Inside the cabin this time. Scratching, crawling in the walls, under the floorboards. They were inside the soup. Inside me. Turn around, the mirror me whispered, now right in front of me. Its mouth unhinged wider than humanly possible. And in that moment, I blinked. Just once. And suddenly I was staring at the back of my own head. I had turned. There was no sound anymore. No footsteps. No wind. Just silence. And then a cold hand touched my shoulder. And the last thing I heard before my mind snapped like dry twigs was the chorus of children, their voices gleeful, triumphant, singing in unison. You broke the rule. The voice was no longer behind me. It was around me, woven into the trees, breathing through the soil, echoing in the air that had grown too still. My breath caught in my throat as I stood frozen in the middle of the worn trail, the flashlight flickering like it was struggling to stay conscious. Every fiber of my body screamed to run, but my legs felt weighted with dread. Something brushed against my shoulder. Cold. Wet. It lingered just long enough for my mind to register that it had fingers. I spun around, again. Another mistake. There was no one there, just the forest, tall, too tall now, closing in like a more ready to swallow me whole. The path I had been following was gone. The trees had shifted when I turned, rearranging themselves into a pattern I didn't recognize. Gnarled limbs arched over me like ribs in a decaying beast. The air was vibrating with a low hum now. Not music. Not yet. A warning, a prelude. I stumbled backward, breath hitching, when I saw movement. Not far. A silhouette. Not of a child, no. Too tall, too thin, like it had been stretched. Its limbs dangled unnaturally, swaying even though there was no wind. It stood between two pines, its face obscured by shadow, but I felt its gaze piercing through me. Watching. Judging. Why did you look back? It asked. The voice came from its stomach. Its chest was heaving, not from breath, but like something inside it was trying to get out. A sudden jerk, a bulge pressed outward from under the skin, tiny fingers clawing from within. I ran. Branches slapped at my face. The hum rose to a dissonant chorus, children singing, voices out of tune, layered over each other in chaotic harmony. The lyrics made no sense. Nonsense words. Made up lullabies laced with venom. But they knew my name. They sang it between verses. Over and over. My name. Mocking. Sweetly. I don't know how long I ran. My lungs burned, legs ached, but I didn't stop. Not until the forest spit me out into a clearing I didn't remember entering. The moon hung low, enormous, bleeding red light over the ground. In the center of the clearing stood a crooked playground. Rusted swings moved though the air was still. A merry-go-round spun lazily, creaking with every rotation. I knew that playground. It had burned down 20 years ago. Kids had died. I had watched the flames as a child from my bedroom window. I'd heard their screams. And yet, here it stood. Pull. Waiting. And I realized too late, I hadn't left the forest. I had entered its memory. The creature reappeared, perched atop the jungle gym like a vulture. Its body twisted as it leaned down, and I saw it clearly now. Its face was a collage of the missing. Eyes stitched from different souls, mouths mismatched and trembling, whispering apologies in voices that didn't match. "You broke the rule," it said again. "So now, you stay." From the sandbox rose dozens of small arms. The children. But not really. Their skin was translucent, bones showing through like porcelain dolls cracked too many times. Eyes hollow. Mouths agape in silent screams as they crawled toward me, movements jerky and inhuman. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. They grabbed my ankles, fingers like icy vines tightening, pulling me down. I felt myself sinking, not into sand, but something wet. Sticky. Like tar. It pulled at my limbs, my chest, my voice. The creature descended. It didn't move like it had joints. It slithered, body clicking into place with every lurch forward. I was up to my neck in the muck when it leaned in close, its face inches from mine. "Now you are a part of the chorus." Then the world went dark. They found me at dawn, collapsed outside the trailhead. Clothes torn. Covered in dirt. I couldn't speak for days. Couldn't tell them that the song never left. That at night, in the hum of the wind or the distant rustle of leaves, I hear the children. Singing. Waiting. Sometimes I wake up facing the window. Even though I know I went to sleep with my back turned. And sometimes, I hear the voice again. Just behind me. "You broke the rule. I don't turn anymore." But I think it's getting closer.